Welcome back to Dream Big. I'm Hannah Viviers. We are here with Marcell Erasmus. He is speaking to us about his See What I See project. And if you've seen the first two interviews, it's really profound the work that he's doing. Marcell, thank you so much for staying with us.
Thank you for having me. I had to hold on
to you because we usually just do two segments, but there's one story that I really wanted you to share and I couldn't let you go without you sharing it. So one of the things that you do is prison ministry. First of all, I would just like you to tell us, how did you get into that?
I think I've always somehow, and I think that's just God who's given me a heart for the outcast and for the unloved again, and which society have kind of pushed out. So and the Bible also says that we need to remember the people in prison and we need to visit the people in prison, because Jesus said, if you visit the people in prison, it is as if you're doing it to Him. So the Bible is quite clear on that, and I can understand people. It's maybe that's a very sensitive issue because people have been affected by crime in really bad ways, and so I'm really sensitive about this. But I just feel it's important that we need to go and speak to those guys, and so I just also through God ordained. I met this lady, so I've been going to a maximum secure unit here in Joburg, and so I would just go in and speak to the guys, and I wouldn't even always just pray for them, but I would just fellowship with them, hear about their story, because they're just desperate for people from the outside, and God's in prison, that I can say, because He's changing their lives in an amazing way. And sometimes I go in there and I get encouraged by them.
Yeah, I was about to say that. You said that to me, that you go in and you're thinking you're going to go and bless these people and you leave being more blessed than what you thought you would be.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the story that I wanted you to share with us was the story of Simpiwe. I would like you to tell us what happened with him.
I was asked by the social worker to go speak to this one guy.
And this is in prison. I would like people to remember that. Yeah.
She asked me to go and speak to him, and he was in isolation cells. So I went and spoke to him. She gave me a little bit of background, and from what she told me, he's in isolation cell not because he's dangerous, just because he sees himself as a homosexual. So I went and I spoke to him, found out a little bit more about him.
So from what you had said to me is that they had put him in isolation for his own safety.
It's for his own safety, yeah. So I went and I spoke to him, and he was quite an intense person, and he hasn't had visitors for a very long time. So his family rejected him and all sorts. And he's had a really, really tough growing up. He's been abused by his uncles and by family members in ways that no one should be abused, and he's been rejected. So he's really had a really tough life. I met up with him, I think it was 2 or 3 times, and he showed me pictures of women's clothes that he would like to wear one day when he gets out of prison, and all sorts. So then, on the last time I met with him, he said to me, because he was reading his Bible, and he said to me, do I think God made him gay? And I clearly felt God saying, don't answer this question, because whatever I'm going to say, he's going to say, yeah, but that's your opinion and all that. So I said to him, you know what, I'm not going to answer you. I'm going to pray that God will give you that answer, that God will make it clear to you. And that's how I left it. And I think I might have prayed once, remembered him and say, God, just make it clear to him about his identity. Then I got a call from the social worker, said, I need to go and speak to Simpiwe, can I please come in? So
he had asked to speak with you?
Yes.
Okay.
So I went back in, about a week, 2 weeks later. When I saw him, I thought wow, something's changed in him. He's completely different. He was smiling and says, I need to tell you about my dream. So I said, okay. And he said, I had this dream. He says that it was on the Sunday night, because that Sunday he was referring to some scriptures where it speaks about identity. And he got angry with God, and he said to God, well, where do I fit in? Because I feel like I don't fit in any of these scriptures. What is my identity? I don't know who I am. Then that night he had in his dream, this woman woke him up. She took him and she said, Simpiwe, I am your wife, and I'm going to show you something. And then she took him and she stood before him, and she opened herself up, and she said, Simpiwe, look at me. God made me a woman. I have a womb. I have all the necessary things to give birth and to have a baby. She said, and you not that. You don't have any of that. God made you a male. And she said then, she closed herself up again, and she took him by the hand, and she said, Simpiwe, she took him to an open grave, and she said, we're gonna get into this grave, and I'm gonna climb in with you into this grave, and we're gonna bury all the lies and all the deceit that's been spoken over you and the lies that you've believed of yourself. We're gonna bury this, and I just thought, oh, wow, that is amazing, because God has literally came through for him, and that guy just completely changed. And then what such a profound thing is, he said to me, the woman's name, she said her name is Zira. He says, I've never heard the name, I don't know how to spell it, so he just wrote Zira on a piece of paper to me. And he says, I think this is her name. So after I sat with him for 2 hours, and we laughed, and it was just amazing. And although I believed it, but I couldn't believe how God just came through for him on this clear vision and this clear dream, and he really just changed.
You had said to me that also, when he told you that story, that he'd had all these magazines that he'd been keeping of these women, and he was so angry and had torn them up and said, this is not who I am, and that he for the first time he was actually seeing that he felt God was saying to him he was.
Absolutely. I sat in his cell with him, and he literally just tore everything, and he got angry. There was this righteous anger that came over him at the enemy just for robbing him of his entire life, robbing him of his identity. So he was ready to take on Satan. He said, he must come. I'm ready for him. And he was just completely changed person. I saw a miracle happen right in front of me. It was amazing. But what's so profound about the woman's name, when I left the prison, I felt God saying, I need to go and Google this name. So I thought, okay, well, I don't know if the spelling is correct. So I just took the spelling that he gave to me, and I Googled Zira, the meaning of it. And what came on the screen, I couldn't believe what I read. Zira is a Hebrew name for a woman, and the meaning of it is messenger. So I just laughed, I cried, I thought, oh, wow, God, you're amazing. Just like the detail. That is a miracle. That is just so profound. So I printed out, and the next day I went to him and I said, I need to show you something. I need to show you the meaning of this name, because he's never heard the name before. He didn't know how to spell the name. He just thought maybe that's how you spell it. And so I gave it to him, and he was just completely blown away.
Marcell, I think what you're doing, there's just so many levels to it, and I can see very clearly in it. I suppose anybody who believes in what God puts in our hearts and how it's impacting people's lives already, which is really incredible. What I would like to ask you though is, what do you want us to believe? And I think I've asked you this question in different ways. What do you want us to believe about people like Simpiwe, about people like Joshua, about all these people that you're meeting? And they've become and I can see they've become such a part of your life.
I think there are people, and they are God's people. And this country is filled with amazing people, and people just need to respect one another. If they see someone on the street, just take the time and find out a little bit more about them, or just treat them. Don't treat them differently just because of their skin color and because they're poor. If you go into a squatter camp or into any poor area, you start to get a completely different perspective on life. And And it's really powerful. And Jesus would have done the same thing. And we really are here to be Jesus' hands and feet on this earth. And this country needs it.
People can get you on Instagram and on Facebook. But on Facebook is where I'm connected with you. I follow your stories on Facebook. So for everybody that's watching this, please get a hold of Marcell on Facebook. And if you really believe in what he's doing, because it's so fantastic, you can follow him on Facebook. And his website is seewhatic.co.za. We're going to have all that information. And we wish you the absolute best. Because other than just the project, I think, like we've seen, there's backlash and people that don't believe in what you're doing. And there are lots of us that do. And even if nobody stands with you, I totally believe God's with you on this one. And thank you so much for what you're doing for these people, for what you're doing for the kingdom, and for being such an ambassador and a representative of the Father's heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.